What do you shoot? Sony, Canon, Nikon, Fuji? All I can say right now is it is a great time to be a mirrorless shooter. Man, what a time it is to be a mirrorless shooter. The photography wars are getting bigger, they're getting better, the cameras are getting smarter, and everybody feels like, I think everybody has hit their stride in this photography community and the manufacturers and what they want for their consumers. So man, the stakes are higher than ever before. I really believe at the end of 24 though, who do you feel is going to be on top? You know, who you really feel is going to be that supreme mirrorless manufacturer that everybody wants to be with? Because for a while it has been Sony, but there's some other people starting to make some strides. Let's talk about this. Yo, what up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Brandon Collins. Today, guess what? We got a few topics to talk about. So I want you to get your coffees. I want you to kick back and listen to your boy as we rant and talk about some things. I wanted to make this video because there is a lot of things that are coming. So there's a few things that I want to talk about. First thing I want to talk about is the cameras that I feel are still kicking butt right now in 2024, whether you shoot photography, videography, or even hybrid. Which cameras are killing it right now? Right now, everybody is biting their nails, man. They don't know what Sony's gonna do. Canon's about to drop some things. Probably when this video dropped, I think Canon may have already announced what cameras they got coming, some cameras they got coming. Sony's kind of keeping things under wraps right now, you know, what they're going to drop. All I know is, man, let me just say it's a great time to be a photographer. That's the only thing I can tell you. Competition is good, all right? It's great. It elevates, it motivates, it inspires, and it causes innovation, all right? So competition, breeding competition, especially amongst camera manufacturers, is absolutely great. It's great for the community, man. So you guys need to strap up, because the next few months, like May and June, we're gonna get some information. It's gonna be crazy about what's about to happen. So we're gonna get right into a few things that I want to talk to you guys about today. I want to talk to you about a few cameras, again, that I feel like right now are just leading the way, and I definitely want to get your opinion on these topics that I'm about to bring to you. So definitely take your notes. Let's have a good discussion, man. So let's go ahead and get right into the topic. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is the cameras that I feel are right now, my opinion, not yours, not YouTube's, not nobody else's. The cameras that I feel right now are making the biggest waves, the biggest noises, and who's reigning. All right. So now I still believe to this day, right now in the community, the Sony A1 is probably the best actual hybrid camera that is on the market, with their 50 megapixel sensor, everything that you can get from it, both photo and video, man. It is absolutely stunning. 8K, all of those things. The only really downfall is articulating screen, and I really hate that, but that's not really what that camera was built for. But I feel like the A1 is the best hybrid camera. Now, if you cannot afford the A1, I would definitely lean towards the A7 IV as being the best hybrid camera right now when it comes to photo and video, focusing, and everything that it can do. I definitely feel like the Sony A7 IV is still the best hybrid camera. With that being said, let's move over to cinema cameras. We're talking about really full frame cameras, so just take like the A7S III, the FX3, things like that. Honestly, after, and you know, even I know some people even have the Lumix S5 1X, I think that's what it's called, or 2X, S5 2X. I love a lot of those cameras. I know that has the open gate. I know a lot of those different cameras out there, but I think right now, after using and playing around with these cameras, I really feel that the Canon R5C is definitely the best cinema camera for full frame right now. Hands down, absolutely. I know a lot of people like the FX3. I know a lot of people like the A7S III. But let me tell you, when it comes to the codecs, everything, the Canon R5C has 8K RAW, it has 6K, it has 4K. I mean, the 4K is downsampled from 8K sensor. So it's still, you're gonna have a better image with the R5C. I love the 3.2. It has a 3.2 screen on it versus Sony's ugly 3.0 screen. And it has a 2.1 million dot freaking screen on it, man. It even looks better. Like my buddy Manny has it, and he brought it over. He actually filmed my last 2 videos on YouTube with it in C-Log 3. And it was such a joy color grading that footage. Like, I'm so used to decades of color grading the Sony footage, but when I was able to do that Canon footage, I was like, man, this looks absolutely incredible. But the Canon just had, I mean, it was like Canon just threw so much into the R5C with all the codecs. It has real cinema features. It has so many cinema features, unlike the FX3. I think those are basic cinema cameras. I mean, I think the FX3 is like a basic cinema camera. After using the R5C, man, let me tell you, boy, that 45 megapixel sensor, yo, I was blown. Let me tell you, I was blown away by the R5C, and I don't get blown away too much, bro. But that camera with all those freaking codecs, man, oh my goodness. And on top of that, it had false color. It had false color in the freaking camera. You know, there's not one Sony camera that has false color. Like, you literally have to add an external monitor to even try to get false color. If you're grading in log, regardless if it's S-Log or C-Log, the best way to color grade that footage is by using false color. I know we have histogram. I know we have all these zebras and all these other things that we can do, but there's nothing better than false color. I absolutely love it. And the fact that we don't have that in no Sony camera is just crazy to me. So we're going to get to that here a little bit shortly. But the R5C, man, hands down, is crazy. Now, yes, I do shoot Sony, but I also tell you what I feel and what is right also. And after using the R5C, man, I'm thinking about actually picking one up myself, man. Unless Sony do something with this next camera. You guys know how I feel about adding other manufacturers, but man, whew. And not to mention the versatility of it. I mean, you still have an R5 when it comes to photography, man. That's just for that camera to pack so much and still be a good photo camera, but an absolute beast for video is crazy. Now, yeah, we do obviously know the shortcomings of the R5C, which is this horrible battery life. There are some areas that the A7S III outshines the R5C, which is, I still think that the A7S III is a more reliable camera when it comes to autofocus, all right? Using the R5C, you know, there was times that, you know, we will either be moving too fast to go out of frame, and it struggled more to try to pick the image back up than my A7S III, because that image and that focus on the A7S III is just lightning fast. So, battery life, autofocus. So moving on to photography, the top camera in photography that I still think right now does it over everybody is definitely the Sony A7R5. Hands down, I still think that this is the best camera that you can use for portraits when it comes to full frame, consumer level. I'm not talking about the GFX like 100 and those things, but I still think right now the A7R5 with the speed, the focus, the megapixels, it's still top right now. All right, so let's get into something else, man. I know everybody is biting their nails waiting to hear about these announcements from Canon, waiting to see how Sony is going to respond, waiting to see what Fuji's brewing up over there, waiting to see what Panasonic's about to do. Yo, again, it is a great time to be a photographer. I think I'm going to get a shirt made like that. Matter of fact, let's take a minute and break in here, man, and get a word from our sponsor, man, which is me. Yo, Dope Photography Clothing, man. If you haven't been there, man, you need to go over to my website, www.brandoncolephotos.com, and check out Dope Photography Clothing, man. I have some amazing shirts, man, that are on my website right now for the photography community. It don't matter if you're a photographer, videographer, content creator, man. I'm coming out and building this brand. So again, this is one of my shirts. This says, I'm a dog with this camera. That can relate to you whether you're a photographer or videographer. It really don't matter, man. Go over to my website, man. Check out all the merch and things that I have for photographers and videographers, man, and go ahead and support, man. You should do that. That is a word from my sponsor today. Now let's get back to the video. Camera manufacturers all over are getting everything ready and geared up for the Olympics, and everybody's about to drop their stuff. But let's start off with a few things about what I feel is coming out. The first thing is Canon. Canon is coming for everybody's head right now. As you probably already know, Canon has already registered like 4 or 5 new cameras, man. Like, they are not playing. I feel like Canon really needs to invoke that dominance again, because as you know, prior in the DSLR world, Canon was #1. You know, everything from the 5Ds all the way up to 5D Mark IV to the 70, 80, 90D other APS-C sensors. Like, Canon ruled the DSLR world, and I really think that they're trying to get back to that top spot. And they are doing that, and they, like I said, they are coming out with they're about to drop like 4 or 5 cameras, man. Like, really, like, who does that? Like, they're really about to make some announcements, and I really think it's going to take the photography and the videography community by storm, man. While Sony is still on the little hush hush, you know, we still ain't had a word nothing for Sony. You know, they're still like, you know, but Canon is just making rumors. They making waves, and I'm here for it, and I applaud them for really, you know, getting that stuff out there through all these other outlets to let everybody know and putting those little birdies out there. They know exactly what they're doing, man. Their marketing is crazy, and I think that they're about to drop some heat. Another reason why I say that Canon is really coming for everybody's head is because they have done something that I think that they would never do. And that is allow third-party manufacturers to start making RF glass. And I've always said, the day that Canon allows other manufacturers to start making RF glass, I think is really going to be that turning point where Canon is going to start to be the more dominant. Because one of the biggest reasons why people left Canon and went to Sony or other manufacturers is everybody could not keep up with the price of that RF glass. It was just way too hard. Like, that's not really for the average consumer to spend $2,500 per lens. $2,500 almost per lens to get really great image quality. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. So coming to a area like Sony where they can use Viltrox and, you know, Tamron and Sigma and Samyang, and people just have so many options in Zeiss. People just have so many options to get way more cheaper glass. Is going to give you amazing quality, and Canon just doesn't have that. But now, as you know, Tamron and Sigma just announced that they are going to start making, first off, APS-C glass for the RF mount. I think that's a step in the right direction. I think they got a lot of stuff brewing, and I think they're gonna come for everybody's neck. And when Canon users can start buying third-party lenses to put on there, and they don't have to spend $2,000 per lens to put on those RF mount cameras, oh man, it is gonna be a bad day for Sony and everybody else, man. Because that's one of the things that was keeping Sony above the competition, was just the amount of lenses that is at your disposal to put on your Sony A7 cameras or APS-C cameras or whatever the case may be. So I'm excited for the upcoming news. You guys tell me down in the comments what you think is about to happen with the Canon announcements. What do you think is gonna happen with the Sony announcements? Let's get to another subject. Let's talk about Sony. Everybody knows that we are still anticipating either the A7S IV or the FX3 Mark II. So in the comments, you guys tell me, what do you prefer? What do you want? Do you want the A7S IV, or would you like the FX3? Now, there is claims. There's no claims. There's no speculations. Nothing coming down the pipe. Like, they have been really quiet about what they let out to the public right now. Now, I can personally tell you that if I had my choice, I would want the A7S IV. I would not want them to abolish that line, because like with all the rest of the Sony full frame cameras, I love how they're set up, the placement of the dials. Everything is just similar throughout all the Sony full frame cameras in the A7 series. The main ones like the A1 and the A7R5, it don't matter, A7 III, A7 III, A7 IV, like all of those cameras are pretty much set up the exact same way with a few things in different spots. But for the most part, you know, using those cameras in conjunction with each other is pretty simple. So I would hope that the A7S IV would come out, because that it would be an easy transition from camera to camera, with everything kind of being set up the exact same way, EVF, all of those things. But regardless of what they come out with, let's talk about some things that you guys would like to see in the new A7S IV or the FX3 Mark II. So I compiled a list together. Now, these are not things that are going to happen. All right, so I don't want nobody going back and saying I said anything. All right, these are some of the things that I think that these are some of the things that I would like to see in a FX3 Mark II or a Sony A7S IV. All right, let's start with AK. I don't mind. I would like to see it with AK, especially if it's internal. But I don't think Sony is going to go that route. All right, I think we will probably get like 6K. I would love to see like 6K 120. I would like to see the 4K like downsample from a 6K or AK sensor. AK raw, whether it be 6K raw internal, I think that would be dope. So I'm not really too big on the AK, but however, I don't know if that's possible for them to do that while maintaining the low light capabilities and the sensor that they're going to put into it. But I do believe that they can do it. So if I had to lean my way, I would say I would love to see a 6K 120 4K downsample from a 6K sensor. Moving on from that, I would like to see if it had internal NDs. I don't think that's a possibility. Not necessarily a possibility. I just don't think Sony would go that route, but I could be wrong. But I would love to see internal ND filters on a video, or even if it's a cinema-centric camera. I would love to see that FX3 Mark II or the A7S IV, if they get rid of one or keep one, whatever the case may be. Let's talk about the sensor. I believe that definitely the next camera that's coming out is going to have at least a 20 megapixel sensor or a 24 megapixel sensor. I think it's still going to be able to maintain their low light capabilities, but I definitely think a higher resolution sensor is definitely a must at this point. We love the 12 megapixel sensor, but you know, we definitely know that you can get a little bit more sharper image and clarity with a bigger sensor. So I'm going for a 24 megapixel sensor in the next video camera. I'm also thinking that we can throw in a global shutter. We already have it on the A9 III. It was done. It's been successful. Everybody loves it. I definitely would love to see a global shutter on the next camera also. I think that's going to be the thing moving forward, especially for a camera like the FX3 Mark II or the A7S IV. 16, 18 stops of dynamic range. I definitely think it's going to have improved dynamic range capabilities. I think it's going to have enhanced low light capabilities as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they also do with that. Enhanced video focusing or AI enhancements on it. I think that that's going to be a must. It's been happening. It's in all the other cameras. So I don't think it's no thing for Sony to throw this in one of these cameras as well. I think it will have improved image stabilization. Image stabilization is going to be a great thing for the FX3 Mark II or the A7S IV, especially if you have a lot of people out there that hand holds or 5-axis, whatever the case may be. Definitely think the image stabilization is going to be absolutely magnifique improved on the new camera also. So pricing and release date. How much would a camera like this go for? Let's say Sony gives us a 6K 120 6K 120 camera with false color and a lot of other video codecs, most of the cinema features that we want. Okay, what is a camera like this gonna cost? If I had to put a price on it, I would say around $4,500. But anywhere between 43 and 47. That's how much I'm pricing this camera at for. Between $4,300 and $4,700 for the new FX3 Mark II or the Sony A7S. It's so funny because the FX3 still goes for around $3,800. So you mean to tell me for $1,000 more you could get the FX3 Mark II? I think that might. Now that's the thing that tells me it might be a bigger jump than that. Now, I know there's other rumors out there like the A1 Mark II. I'm not getting into all of that because I don't really know. But my thing is this now. When you think about these marks, have you ever asked yourself, like, what can these manufacturers keep throwing into these cameras before they all become almost like the same thing? Like, do you really feel that they can continue to pile in stuff and to make these cameras, you know, that much different? Like, when is it going to be a time where your camera is just really just going to be good enough? You know, I don't need to upgrade. I think manufacturers keep adding into their cameras. I'm not saying that they don't have the possibility or the capabilities to do it, to make them sit aside from their predecessors. However, I just feel like it's going to be things to run out of that you're not really going to be able to put more into. But they do keep doing it, and they do keep making these cameras more superior than the previous version in some extent, you know. But the specs and the quality will begin to be so good that there will not be any reason for upgrade. But again, you know, just make sure everybody is ready. Make sure you got your wallets ready. Make sure you got your credit cards ready. Take it down to the comment section, man. Let me know what you guys think about some of these things that are coming out, some of the things that we talked about today, whether it be the cameras, whether it be what you are thinking, what you want to see in the next camera. And yeah, it's going to be a great time, man. So everybody hold on to your hats for the next May and June as we start to get these announcements coming in. Oh yeah, it's going to be a great time to go broke.